Welcome to Arun in Denmark podcast. This podcast is for expats living in Denmark. It's also for foreigners moving to Denmark. Today in our podcast, we will feature a special guest. She is an expat, a trailing spouse, where she will share her story. Welcome to the podcast, Liza.
Hi, Arun.
Yeah,
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
give us a short introduction about yourself, Liza.
Mhm. Originally I'm from Russia, but
Mhm.
I have been living in Denmark for a year.
Mhm.
And I'm an IT project manager. And for the last 5 years, I have been working in the software development industry. I used to. I used to dream of living in Europe, and I think the main reason for that was the internet, of course, because I saw so many interesting, amazing places online, and I decided to watch it on my own eyes. And yes, that's why I started traveling a lot. But several years ago, I decided that I wanted more, and I would like to live in some beautiful and cozy place. And my husband shared this desire, and he started looking for a job everywhere in Europe, around the world. But very soon he was very lucky, and he got an offer from Danish Technical University here,
Okay.
DTU. So yes, that's how our story started.
And how long have you been in Denmark so far, if I should know?
1 year.
Okay, so you're rather new to Denmark, actually.
Yes. Hmm.
And my first impression is, have you ever thought that you would move to Denmark in the first place of list of countries that you mentioned or thought about in Europe? Was Denmark on the list?
No, I have never been to Denmark
Okay.
before. Yes, and to be honest, it is a small country, yes, and
Hmm.
I went to Finland because I last 13 years I
Hmm.
lived in Saint Petersburg. It is
Okay.
very close to Finland, and
Hmm.
we could uh, went to Helsinki just for 1 day. We had like a I don't know, like a trip from St. Petersburg to Helsinki, and from Helsinki to St. Petersburg, and we did it very often. So I went to Finland very often, maybe 5 times. Yes, but I have never been in Denmark.
Hmm.
So yeah, and we didn't know about this country. And when my husband got an offer, only after that we decided to know about language, for example, because we of course didn't learn Danish before,
Hmm.
and yes, we used only Russian and English. So
Hmm.
of course here we use English, and it is so great that everyone speaks English here.
I think you're right. Copenhagen is pretty international, and I often hear people say it's hard to learn Danish because people Danes easily switch to English if we struggle to speak Danish. So that's also a friction for someone who wants to learn language. We will come back to this language topic at some point in the podcast. But before that, now you have been in Denmark for 1 year, and the first thing that would probably in your plan would be to, let's say, what was your first thing that you want to do? Was
Mhm.
it studying education or getting integrated into job market, or what was your thought back several months before?
Mhm. Interesting question,
Hmm.
because I decided to have a break
Hmm?
because last 5 years I worked at the same company, and I even didn't remember the time when I didn't have a job.
Hmm.
So yes, I decided just to take a break, to enjoy my life, to explore new city, and yes, to get to know this culture better. So yeah, I remember it was last August, so it was great summertime, and I just yes uh, explored this new city.
So now you have taken a break. Was it challenging for you to just I would say uh, find integration platforms? Like for example, if you move to a country, you'll probably think like, how am I going to integrate myself? What are the first things that you started doing? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
uh, did you find neighboring people from your home country, or what did you do to integrate into the country?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I used yeah, I decided to my integration process from Facebook, and
Okay.
I found one very famous community,
Hmm.
Girls Gone International. Actually, this
Okay.
community is only for girls. Yes, and the main idea of this community, that girls from all around the world, and particularly who, for example, are expats in the Denmark or
Mm,
in Copenhagen,
mm,
they could change some advice or some tips and to support each other. And yes, I was alone here. It is very important to mention that I didn't have any friends here, and except my husband, I didn't know anyone. And to be honest, I actually didn't think about that before. I realized that I'm alone here only when my husband went at his office, and
mm.
I stayed alone. And after that, I realized, okay, now I am in Europe. My dream came true. But what is next? And yes, I very uh, yeah, I found that community, and I posted a post about myself that
Mm,
hi, I'm like doing this, or I like doing that. If you have time, let's meet up for coffee and get to know each
mm,
other better. And 4 girls replied me, yes, and supported here.
mm.
Uh, support, can I say that?
Yeah, yeah. Supporting is the right word, actually.
Yeah, yeah, and
Mm,
yeah, it was a great start. And they shared some even, you know, very useful applications for fitness or for
okay.
restaurants. And
Mm,
one girl told me about Copenhagen Business School, that
mm,
if you are interested in some business events, you can um, like just sign up for some events, and
mm,
just to go. And to be honest, I did it.
mm.
And I met another girl on that event, and I think that's how it works.
Mm.
Your network, how to build your network.
So it's like from one person to another, you start forming network through meetups and social events. For the audiences listening to the podcast, what was the group called in Facebook? Just so that people.
Girls Gone International.
Okay, Girls Gone International. Okay, that is actually a lot of. It will be a really good help for people who are listening to the podcast, of course. So now that you had started actually spending some time putting yourself out and then reaching out to these forums and meeting new people. So did you at some point realize that okay, so now I'm going out, now I'm spending time. Uh, was it easy to find friends uh, in Denmark? Like, for example, do you have friends from Denmark, like Danish friends, or is it all internationals like you?
Yeah. I think now, no, I don't have Danish friends,
Yeah.
unfortunately, except
Yeah.
my maybe teacher from
Mm,
Danish class
mm,
and some guys from Toastmaster.
mm.
Yes, but no, I think now my uh, I don't know, my I don't know how to say. Okay, of course, I don't a lot of Danish friends.
Okay, yeah, yeah, that's completely fine. Uh, so you at least have a strong international network, right? To
Hmm.
so so now coming back to this language that we spoke about earlier, um, when did you start going to classes? Was it the moment you moved to the country, or did you spend time thinking, is it really required for you? Because sometimes people don't really have the necessity to learn language if they think it is too much for them. For in your case, when did you start attending Danish classes?
Hmm. It was maybe in 5 months
Okay,
after, yeah,
moving to
after.
country. Mm.
Yes, because my English is not so good. I think
So
it
does
was.
mine. So it's
It
not the
was
perfect English. Yeah.
maybe now it is much better. Yeah,
Ah,
but 1 year ago I had, in my opinion, very bad situation because I
okay.
didn't use English a lot.
Mm,
Just yeah, I didn't actually had international friends,
mm.
um, and in Russia we don't have a lot of opportunities to speak.
In
But of course,
English.
someone can tell me that if you want to find something you will do it, but online, for example. But I had a teacher, English teacher, but it wasn't necessary. I used English only. Yeah, I used English only during our lessons, and that's all. And
Mm,
and that's very important because, yes, at the beginning of my journey I decided to focus on my English
mm,
because I realized that I will not find work
mm,
here in Danish
mm, mm, mm.
because it isn't possible right now.
That is
But
true because sorry to stop here because I think it's a fair point. Danish jobs are impossible even if you master language because it's simply hard to pronounce or use them in a verbal context. I mean, grammar is simple, text-based conversation is fine. You can write mails, you can read text, but communicating in Danish is another level of, I would say, it's really tough. And you're right. English is required as a medium to communicate across internationals. But then there's also another challenge that you face right now because you have to use English for your uh, or say daily usage. Plus, you have to learn another language. Must be challenging, right? If I must assume.
yes, yes. And you told me, yeah, that you also decided to focus on your English at the beginning of your
Yeah,
journey. Yeah.
yeah.
But now you know Danish as well. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I speak Danish, but to a level where I can understand and I can use basic conversations. I'm not,
Mhm.
I'm never going to imagine myself being fluent in Danish, I'm sure. But I think at some point I would use them in my professional context as well. Right now, I'm using it on a bit more casual context. Like if I go to a Friday bar, if I speak with my colleagues whom I know, then I'm confident. But if I'm in a situation where I'm in a meeting room when they start talking in Danish, I might assume that okay, maybe I'm not someone who is credible when I speak in Danish. So I tend to switch to English.
Mhm.
But I get the point. My biggest strength right now is I could speak in English, and that has been always my strength. And like you pointed out, I think everybody has this opportunity to use Toastmasters as a platform to improve our communication using English. And I think that is also something that you're doing. And I could see that in your LinkedIn profile. You are also putting yourself out in sharing your journey being a project manager, product manager, and that goes to show that you're already interested. Coming back to this challenge, how do you process information? Do you go back and write them in Russian to understand this language learning process, or you use English as a medium? What language do you use to compare studying? Uh,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
because some terms are Danish and you don't know what it means. And even as my mother tongue is Tamil. I usually tend to have Tamil as a reference, my mother tongue as a reference to understand certain concepts. That is how I understand some of the concepts.
Yes, of
Mm,
course, I use Russian very often, and I speak with my husband in
mm.
Russian. We tried to speak only in English, but
Ah,
even at home. But you know, you can't express everything what you want to express in
yeah.
English. And at home, yeah, we speak in Russian, and of course, I
Mm,
speak in Russian with my friends and
mm,
my family. And here, actually, in Copenhagen, I met several Russian speaking people.
mm,
So, yeah. But I try to use English as much as possible. And that's why I try to write some articles or to record some videos.
mm.
And yes, I joined Toastmasters to improve this skill. So yeah, I try to do it, and I also just finished my first level in Danish, and yes, and next week I'm going to start next level.
Second module. Second module.
Second, yeah, yeah. I think it will be more um, harder. Yeah. Um,
Obviously, you should. I think the more the module you go, the better it becomes. But it's also a lot of, process. It's so hard. I don't want to make you feel that it is hard. I think you will love when you reach module three. Module three is very, very important in Danish language because it encompasses everything that you need to pass a Danish exam, at least
mhm,
from a exam perspective. But I would recommend you to go and finish all the five modules.
mhm,
But third module will give you the essence of the entire Danish exam. I don't
mhm.
know if you're taking PD2 or PD3. Which module, which path are you choosing? PD2 or PD3? There's two levels, right?
Oh,
Hoiway Dance 3. Okay. So at some point you will know if you're going to take an exam or not. When you take an exam, there is three levels: PD1, PD2, and PD3. And PD3 is something that I took. I think you would
mhm.
have chosen any of these levels, and I think you can go and check in your school. Maybe they would have changed the name to something else, but I remember it was something written as PD with a number. But yeah, uh,
Yeah, no, to be honest, nobody asked us about that. Uh,
okay.
just I signed
Yeah.
up, and that's all. And
Hmm.
in 2 weeks we had our first lesson, and we have lessons at DTU.
Oh,
Uh, so yeah, um, I don't
so
know.
does
I
your
think
husband also takes language lessons or only
yes,
you?
yes, we together
That is
like
that
at
is good.
school. Yes,
Yeah.
and we are sitting at the same desk, like at school, and on the first line, and you know.
But that's good that you help motivate each other, right? I've never seen an expat trailing spouse say this before. Of course, I would have watched some of them do, but very rarely. It's always the spouse that is active because they have the time, and the spouse gets the language done really faster because they always have the time. The person who is working full time never gets a chance to learn language or take it
Mm,
seriously. That has been my story, at least
mm.
in my Indian with my Indian friends that I've heard stories about.
Yeah,
But that's good.
also makes sense. It makes sense
Yeah.
because after work you
Mm,
don't want
yeah.
to learn this very hard language.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, but
Yeah.
I think it is very important here to know Danish.
Mm, mm,
Um, I don't know.
yeah.
I can't imagine another situation.
Yeah.
because every of course you will have more opportunities if you know Danish, even if you want to find a job. Yes.
Mm.
And to be honest, it was one it was a reason maybe why I decided to start learning Danish, because I wanted to add this information into my CV.
Which is
That
absolutely fine. I mean, I like the way you said you can't imagine a life without learning Danish. And I think a lot of expats listening or watching this podcast, I think what I could see from Liza's perspective is just the best example. And not a lot of expats think this way, which is very nice that you are bringing this topic, because if you want to integrate into any country, language is one of the things that is absolute necessity. It helps you integrate much faster. It's a no-brainer, and I believe you
Mhm.
are on the right track. You are in the right track. Within a year, you had this intention, which is good. And people who are going to hire you in your future job will probably see this as an asset, as an investment, and they will always favor you versus someone who does not understand Danish. It doesn't mean that they don't have the skill, but you have something which is extra, which is the language part. And I think it will go on the long run. It will always be an asset for you. I think you're on the right track in that way. Uh,
Yeah, thank you.
yeah, I think much appreciated. Coming back to this part, what is your current endeavor? What is the current thing that you're pursuing in Denmark? What is your next big thing in Denmark that you're looking for?
I'm looking for a job
Mm,
here. Yes, of course, it is my now it is my main goal here,
mm, mm,
and well, it isn't easy,
mm.
to be honest. And yes, mm, yes, I'm looking for a job,
You
and
you you worked in Russia for 5 years as a product manager, project manager, and how do you see the market within project management in Russia
Mhm,
versus the job market in Denmark?
mhm. I think we have very different um job hunting process, in my
Mm-hmm.
opinion, because and another thing is in Russia we have a lot of um, small, middle size, and large IT companies.
Mm,
So for me, it wouldn't be a problem to find a job. Yeah, so now we have a lot of opportunities, a lot of job descriptions,
mm,
and yeah, and here, of course, we have mm, less opportunities in the IT industry,
mm,
and yes, and of course, here you have be more active. You have to call to your potential employer even
mm,
before applying for the position. You
mm,
have to build your networking, and you have to have um, um, resume for each position, and you have to rewrite it each time, and you have to write significant cover letter, and
mm,
so on, so on. So you
mm,
have to work more
mm, mm,
and harder.
mm,
And in Russia we have the same completely different situation.
mm,
uh, we have one of course, yeah, yeah, one the most important and one the most famous resource for job hunting, and you have to create just one version of your
mm,
resume, and
mm,
to um, um, load it into this system.
mm,
And after that, every recruiters or hiring managers, they can see your resume, and they can invite you
mm,
uh, to further, for
mm,
example, to
mm,
discuss uh,
mm,
their job with more details, and
mm,
to have an interview.
mm,
But yes, and you as a job seeker, you also can see of the whole list of job descriptions, and you just need to click on the button, just apply, 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 and that's all. I can do it,
mm.
you know, uh,
With ease.
it is
I,
much
I
easier.
Yeah. I think it's in India. It's the same. We have a lot of platforms. It's called Naukri. There's a lot of job hunting platforms where we upload one resume, and then companies just find the resumes. I think usually it's the headhunters who looks for these profiles in that platform. I think you're right. In Denmark, the hiring process is a bit stringent. It's actually that way because they're looking for specialists or let's say niche set of skills in the market at the moment, or at least that is what I realize. I've been working with two different sectors so far, and I could see that um, with my experiences within collaborating with human resource in the company, they expect people to have resume that is applicable for that position. So they don't expect something generic. They want something specific or relevant to the job, which means then if you're applying for hundreds of jobs, you technically have to group them into buckets and say, what is this job about? How many jobs am I going to apply? I design a resume for this kind of a role with this cover letter. Of course, you will have to then modify every time when you send to a recruiter, which is
Mhm.
just a painful process or customization, I would call it. At the end of the day, that is a lot of effort that one has to make to apply for a job. But there's also one thing. I think you are also using LinkedIn to apply jobs, right?
Of course, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and in Denmark, I think a lot of these hiring managers they look for LinkedIn as a form of CV. So they look into your CV before looking into CV. They look into resume, LinkedIn profile, and then they see if this candidate is someone that I want to interview further. So it
Mhm.
works on both the ways, and I think if you're lucky, they will actually contact you directly, and then have a verbal discussion, and then it is the process is pretty straightforward. But I guess you are on the right track. So that a difference, I think you're aware that Russia recruitment process is different from Danish recruitment processes. What is the challenge that you have faced uh, recently when applying, or maybe the search itself? What are the challenges that you feel as an expat is really taking a lot of effort, or it could be anything, right? What
Mhm.
what is the challenge that you face in general
Mhm.
being an expat?
Yeah, to be honest, we have already discussed that, and it is, I think, my first challenge. What I faced is how to make new friends when
Mm,
you are an adult.
mm,
Yeah, because yeah, I in Russia, of course, I had my my friends and someone I met at school, someone I met at university, someone I met at work, and I didn't make an effort to do that. So it was natural, you know.
mm,
But
mm.
here, I don't have school, I don't have university, and
Yeah,
even
yeah,
a job, and
yeah.
I need to find people with the same interests somewhere, and I didn't know where to do it,
Mm,
and
mm, mm,
also I not so sociable person,
Sociable.
you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So I mean, um, uh, I can be shy, and I can
Mm,
be shy to start conversation with strangers, or
mm,
even with someone,
mm,
or during the conference
mm,
or the
mm,
meeting.
mm,
Sometimes yeah, even during our meetings
mm,
with Toastmasters,
mm.
I need to, just to think about, okay, I need to start talking. I need to start talking, and after that, of course, I
I
I
think it's a
create
sign of
conversations.
it can be a
So
sign of being introvert, and I don't know if I'm judging you here, but I think it's very common.
yeah.
But I think you don't need to change to be a complete extrovert to become sociable all of a sudden. But I think you can also find good friends and then have a valuable or more meaningful relationship. As I see, you might have already. It's just my perception. The way I do as an expert here, I just go out, find something that interests me. One of the things I did apart from being in Toastmasters is trying improv. I think improv is one of the things that you should always try because improv puts you into a zone where you have to loosen up a bit. There's no rigid
Mm.
structure. I mean, being in the corporate world, working for companies, you have built up a persona that you are this person. But when you step on to this improv workshops, improv classes, you let loose of your personality. You behave as someone who could communicate in a more casual way, in a more eloquent way, and just have fun in the process. I've always been a serious person, or I'll always been seen as a serious person. I've never smiled, and I don't actually have, that sociable skills that you mentioned. I had the same, I would say, similar experience,
Mm.
but of course there are things that changes people, and I think you should experience. Try improv. I think it's really wonderful. Improv classes are free, by the way. There are like a lot of free sessions during summer. Improv is one of the things. There's also other events in meetup that you can apply apart from Toastmasters. But I think yeah, finding friends is a hard task, I know. And especially in a new country which is a different culture altogether, it adds complexity and a lot of other dimensions, and I could imagine. Yeah, but Lisa, I think we really had a really good conversation about topics. What do you miss the most from Russia
Oh,
before we
missed.
close this one? Yeah.
Which is the question? um, or I don't know. Maybe some Russian food.
Okay. I've never actually I don't know what Russian food is. What is special about Russian food? If you could
You
specify
know,
some.
all Russians missed particular foods what we
Okay.
can find anywhere in Europe.
Mm.
It is like well, even I don't know how to say it in English because we don't have
Okay, you
the
don't have an English term for it.
English. It's like cottage cheese,
Okay. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah, and but it is a little different, has a little different texture, and
Mm.
I very like cooking like pancakes
Okay.
uh,
Mm.
for breakfast, and I ate it very
Mm.
often. But
Mm.
now I don't have this product, so yes, and I use it very often.
Mm.
And what else? And you know, here, of course, we have a lot of how to say it. In Russia, I very often went out. For example, we have a lot of restaurants with tasty and delicious food. But here, I think we have the restaurants very expensive,
That is,
and what
I agree.
yeah, yeah. And if you want to go out, you and don't spend a fortune, you
Mm.
have to go to like fast food restaurants
Mm. Mm. Mm.
to take like hamburgers or kind of
Mm.
these, or you have to pay um, a lot
Yeah.
for
Have
good meal.
Yeah, yeah. The pricey menu, I think it's a common. I think it's a very expensive city to live in, and it's also like, the finest restaurants. They're good, but they're also pricey. Have you tried some Danish cuisines or experienced some of the Danish foods? Or
Mm.
if you have, then what was your experience about it?
um, I ate what's it? Small bro.
Oh yeah,
Is the most
small ball.
famous
Yeah, I don't know
small
if I'm
bro.
pronouncing it the right way. For the Danes who are watching this, correct me if I'm wrong. It's called small ball. Small ball.
Yes, small bro.
There's a butter with bread. Yeah, that's a pretty
Yeah.
typical morning breakfast, right? And they also use a specific type of bread called rye bread, the brown in
Mm.
color. I think rye bread, RYE bread. It's very
Ah,
Danish. Yeah, yeah,
oh no, actually, it is like a brown bread.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
brown bread. Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's very common.
Yeah.
It's a typical breakfast. Yeah, but I miss my Indian foods, of course, with a lot of spices and rich in taste. The cottage cheese that you mentioned, I think it's also popular in India. We call it paneer, Paneer. It's an
Mhm.
Indian term. Um, and paneer is you have. with butter masala. So it's called paneer butter masala. It's very popular even in restaurants in Copenhagen. You can find this menu. I wish you should try this one day. It's called paneer butter masala. It's a
Mm,
vegetarian dish, cottage cheese, of course, but it is mixed with curry. Um, and
mm,
then it's a very popular dish. Yeah. Before we end this podcast, I would like to know one thing for the expats or trailing spouses. What would be one biggest advice that you will recommend for someone moving to Denmark, listening to this podcast? What could be one advice that you could tell to foreigners moving to Denmark? Yeah.
mhm.
Mm,
I would say if you have opportunity to find job remotely,
mm,
you have do it, and
mm,
you have find a job remotely, maybe in your country, and
mm,
after that move to Copenhagen maybe and start looking for a job here because
mm,
you will not uh, have this feeling like you
mm,
will not drained maybe I mean that now for example I don't know where I can find a job and
mm.
I a little bit stressed out,
Okay.
so I need, yeah, and I would like to feel more comfortable and
Mm,
to know that I have a um, um, like job projects and it would
mm,
be help me here
mm,
and yeah, so don't quit your job very fast.
mm,
Think
mm,
about
mm,
your future and
mm.
yes, you will never know how long are you will looking for
Yeah, yeah.
your next job, so
Mm,
yeah. And another thing, maybe I don't know. I think everything here is great.
mm,
I love Denmark and Copenhagen and people, and of course you will find new friends here, and just it takes time. Be ready for
mm,
that,
mm,
and.
mm,
Yeah, people very open here, and you will find some communities, Toastmaster, for
mm,
example,
mm,
welcome, and you will not feel alone
mm,
here. Yeah, and a third thing, um, I think if you want uh, to be successful here, you have to try something new and do what you have never done before, and yeah, it will change you.
mm,
It may be painful, but
mm.
can improve your skills and
Mm.
future life.
Yeah, that is amazing. I think three major points to take away. If I should summarize, the first thing is, of course, don't lose your job when you're moving to this country. Find it remote to work from home country or a remote job to kind of fill your time in Denmark, if that is what you meant. Second thing is, finding friends is not a problem, but it takes time. But over time, I think you will end up having a good relationship, good networking opportunities as well. And then third point was interesting for me. Do something new or take some bold steps to do something new, and I guess there's also plenty of opportunities to do uh, networking, volunteering in Denmark. Volunteering is something that people actually undermine in many countries. Especially volunteering is not that rewarding, right? It's just contributing something without expecting anything in return, but that goes a long way in building network, and also you've been seen as someone who is active in the field of work that you want to join. But in you being a project management in the project management, I think one suggestion or one feedback that I would give is find these opportunities to volunteer for an event. There's this upcoming event called Tech Barbecue. I don't know if you have been following
Mhm.
LinkedIn.
Yeah, I have heard about
Yeah,
that.
even participating as a volunteer gets you a lead to finding an opportunity as an intern or finding the opportunity to work on projects from people you meet. So one thing that was one thing that I often hear. Volunteering in Denmark is a very rewarding experiences. But yes, it's also a process which does not guarantee you a job by just doing it. It comes with, of course, a bit of preparation and a lot of yeah, a lot of effort from an expat's point of view. Lisa, I think it was an amazing experience for the last 45, 47 minutes to be precise, uh, having a chat with you.
Thank you very much. It was a wonderful conversation. Yeah, and yeah, thank
Yeah,
you very much. See you.
see you for the participants, uh, for the audiences listening to this podcast. Lisa is very active in LinkedIn. She also made a video about her experiences being as a project manager, and she's putting herself outside and showing her perspectives on LinkedIn. Go follow her, watch her. I will be attaching her profile in the link below so you can connect with her. Thank you.